Esther, year 1, the 25th of Nisan, Chafei Nisan, marks the Hilula of a famous Kabbalist, one of the great rabbis, especially from the golden age period of Kabbalah. His name was ומקובל, Rabbi Chaim HaKohen Z'tl, one of the great rabbis of his time, would go on to become a great rabbi, a pוסק, a rabbi rendering different Jewish law decisions, a משורר, a מקובל, a Kabbalist, and would work in Aram Tsova respectively. And he was a Talmid of the famous rabbi, Rabbi Chaim Vital. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, he was born in Egypt, in Mitzrayim, and his father's name was Rabbi Avraham HaKohen, very great rabbi, so he came from great rabbinic heritage, respectively. Now, it's interesting. I think he would actually speak extensively within regards to his, let's just say, his upbringing in of itself, especially I think inside the book, the Torah Chacham, famous book of his, and I think they list his lineage of the Kohanic status. It was a Kohanim, let's say, miyuchas they were from many generations previously. Now, it's actually interesting. When he was at a young age, they would actually move to Tzvat in Israel, one of the 4 holy cities of Israel. It was, let's say, a generation period in the golden age of Torah. Then he would move to Aram Tsova, where he would start learning, teaching halacha, midrashim, agadata in the Beit Knesset, the synagogue of that specific vicinity in of itself. Afterwards, he would move, I think, the family to Damascus, respectively, over there. And he would, I think, at that stage in time, in Damascus, also had a very large Jewish community. And Rabbi Chaim Vital lived there, I believe, for around the 3-year period. So he would study Kabbalah with him. He would later on become appointed as a rabbi and the rabbinic leader of Aram Tsova, and he would found over there Beit Midrash, synagogues, and the Torah study halls, and strengthen existing ones at that point in time. After a few years, he would start printing various different Torah works of his. He would travel with his son to Venice, to Italy over there. Remember, in Italy especially, they had a huge printing house where there was much publication, let's say, opportunities over there in of itself. Reported over that when he was on ship, they were attacked by pirates, and him and his son were forced to jump into the sea for, let's say, the fear of being sold as slaves. Unfortunately, they would have to leave behind all their writings, and eventually he would reach Venice, and he recollected or rewrote many of the books, parts of it, from memory, and would be able to print it. While he was in Venice, he met with various other great rabbis over there, including Rav Nata Hanuvar, another great rabbi, Kabbalist, a darshan, a historian. He happened to be a very great rabbi that we've mentioned about on various occasions before. And I think he was actually the author of the Torah, the Mechabeh HaSidur She'aret Zion, and the Yavan Metzula, and the Tamei Sukkah, various different books in of itself. And that was obviously a great opportunity for him. And there was it's actually interesting, there's a famous piyut called the Dudi Yarad Lagona, which you're very much familiar with, was composed by the rabbi, and it appears in the Sidur of Tikkun Chatzot, and in the Sidur of She'aret Zion, which is noted as one of the, let's say, the great piyutim of that specific time. Yeah, so it's actually very interesting. Okay, so Rabbi Chaim HaKohen, very much, there was a close connection with the great Rabbi Rav Natan Hanuvar, who maybe we should speak about him on a future video. I think it will be actually his Hilula at a later stage. So there was definitely a very strong connection between those two. Now, he passed away in the year 1655, and it's reported, I think through the Chidah actually mentions it, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulay says he was actually buried in Livorno in Italy. This would have been the 25th of Nisan. Now, he had great books, including Makor Chaim, which we spoke about before, on the code of Jewish law, the 4, let's say, Shulchan Aruch, the Torah of them, the Torah Barakat, which was on the Shulchan Aruch, also on featuring specifically on the Orach Chaim book, the Torah Hatada, a parish on Sefer Root, Megillat Root, I believe, under the name Torah Chesed, respectively. I think it was actually printed under the name Migdal David, if I'm not mistaken. Then the Torah Chacham, which is in the 4 books of Torah. And the Piyut Dodi Yarod Lagana, which we mentioned about before, was one of his great achievements and writings in Piyutim in of itself. The Ateret Zav, which is Perush, an explanation, expoundation on Megillat Esther, and a Perush on the Sefer of Ayin Ein Yaakov, respectively. And I think there were other books or manuscripts which he actually wrote, which didn't make it to initial print, including Ateret Shalom, which is a Perush on the Shir Hashirim, the Meginat Lev, which is a Perush on Megillat Eikar, the Mefarshech Al-Lamin, which is a Perush on the Book of Daniel, and the Menorat Zahav, which was on the Book of Kohelet. So he really much was an expert, let's just say, with regards to various different Megillot inside parts of the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, respectively. It's actually interesting, just going back to it, the Chida will actually write in this chronicle book of the Shema Gedolim, states that he had in his hands always manuscript. He had a manuscript of the Ateret Zahav, a commentary of the Book of Esther, and Migdal David, commentary of the Book of Ruth. He had basically of the great Rabbi of Rabbi HaKohen, respectively. So he was, I think, the book was printed in Amsterdam in 1680. Which and there was someone that actually claimed he was the author of it when he wasn't. And I think that there's Talmudic commentaries on Masechet Brachot were published in an Israeli monthly publication under the Bet Aaron V'Yisrael, I think in 1983. And some of Rabbi HaKohen's books and commentaries are actually manuscripts. Maybe commentaries were featured or written down over there, respectively. So that's very interesting. I think. Really, just going back to the time period in Aleppo, Torah study really flourished under Rabbi HaKohen, really making a huge amount sprouting of various different Talmudic schools over there. And he was writing maybe many of the writings, explanation on the book of Rav Yosef Karo, who was only a couple of generations before that he had lived, which is interesting. I think Venice at that point in time, we spoke about, had a huge printing house. That's how he did it. It was actually the pirates that would actually attack them at ship, were Maltese pirates, it was reported over. So this is a famous incident which I would recommend everyone to learn about. It's actually interesting. His first book, which he actually printed, Rabbi HaKohen, had the help of Rav Moshe Zakuta, another great Rav Moshe Zachut, which is obviously entitled as the Torat Chacham, if I'm not mistaken. And there was a collection of the rabbi's sermons and weekly sections of Torah, which is, that book was published in 1654 in Venice, respectively. And very interesting. So please don't forget to light candles in the great rabbis in the memory. Please, we're a community here. We're learning about the great Oriental rabbis. Yesterday, 25th of Nisan, Isi Siluro, great Egyptian, Italian rabbi, Syrian rabbi, was very well traveled of his time and very highly respected, and also was part of the great Rabbanim, spent a period of time in Tzfat also. Subscribe to the channel. If you feel anyone's interested in watching any of these videos, share these videos to other people also. If you descend from any of the great rabbis we're speaking about, please let me know. I would love to hear more. Wishing you all well.